Hey, how's it going, you swell individuals? I know I'm a little late to making this video, but today we're going to be discussing the Fontaine trailer that came out 9 days ago. Nice. But as for the discussion, we're just going to be going through different parts of the trailer. So we'll start off with this little Focalors part at the beginning.
I'm not sure exactly when it began, but a prophecy has been circulating around Fontaine. The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain, weeping on her throne.
I, Focalor, hereby welcome you to the nation of Hydro, and acknowledge the value and significance of your trip. Now, you may rejoice in this.
Okay, so this will be the first clip. I think we're just going to talk about Focalors as a whole. She seems to definitely be a hedonist. Someone whose main priority is just having a good time and is a pleasure seeker. Now, I'm pretty sure she has a split personality thing going on because she has the two different eyes, to which I heard it's like a dual personality shtick. So I'm actually going to say that this part here where she's crying on the throne is most likely her other self. Like, it's not the Focalors that is acting like a bit of a brat. No, I love the fact that she has so much personality though. There is one thing about Focalors that I'm having a really difficult time trying to understand, and that is, why would anyone, this isn't meant to be an insult in any way, but why would anyone in Fontaine want to follow an Archon like this? Now, the thing is, in Inazuma, with the Raiden Shogun and everything, there was at least some incentive, because the Raiden Shogun had a very clear ideology in place, and that was the whole eternity aspect of things, so at least some people in her nation could agree with that to an extent. So that gives people a reason to follow her. Yes, her way of doing things was wrong, but at least she has some kind of community that actually wants to follow her. Now, the thing with Focalors is, I can't imagine a character like this, who's this much of a hedonist, actually wanting to govern her country. And we're going to talk about this later on in the video, when we discuss the courtroom aspect of things. But I think the whole thing is, she is the face of Fontaine, but she's not in charge of, like, what actually happens with the laws and everything. As long as she's having a good time, she's going to leave everything to her people, and that's kind of my theory with her. I can go on for a lot longer discussing her, but we're gonna get into the other parts of the trailer.
In your opinion, do you think it's right to treat a trial like it's an opera?
To the people of Fontaine, the line between a trial and a performance can be a little blurred. Welcome, one and all, to the Opera Epiclese. Watch carefully now. Blink and you might miss it.
I'm gonna skip the part where it's the character introductions, except for the last boy, the diver. We're gonna talk about him a bit. But as for this part, the first line is, do you think it's right to treat a trial...
It's right to treat a trial like it's an opera?
Like it's an opera, yes. So that seems to be kind of the shtick in Fontaine, where again, it connects to Focalors' constant need for entertainment. And even this is seemingly not enough, because in the first trailer, she says that she's bored. But as for an answer to this question, do you think it's right to treat a trial like it's an opera? Obviously not, but way back in the day, there was the public execution thing. Like, people would be condemned in public. So to an extent, I think it's just a nod to that. Also, we see Taylor Swift over here with her two astute, really nice hat bodyguards. I'm really excited for this chick now.
To the people of Fontaine, the line between a trial and a performance...
Okay, so the line between a trial and a performance can be a little blurred. This is kind of self-explanatory. When you're making a show out of people's crimes, like the thing is, from just a morality standard, it's not the right thing. But once people start seeing this so frequently, which is what seems to be happening in Fontaine, you become desensitized to this. Like, it becomes the new norm. So for the people in Fontaine, it's just normal, which is kind of a scary thought, actually. Okay, and then it leads into his trailer. Okay, side note, I'm really curious as to what this sibling trio, like what their role is gonna be. Because a lot of the other characters, we seemingly know what they're gonna be doing, like whose side they're on. But for them, I'm not really sure, which makes it interesting. Then we have baby girl Lynette over here. We're gonna skip through the combat. I wanna talk about the last sibling, who in my opinion is the most interesting. Some nice background shots. They also show the new boss here. It's like a crab monster. It's kind of cute.
I want to spend some time at the bottom of the sea.
Yes. Okay, so Freminette over here. There's one part of his thing where he starts talking, like towards the end.
These fossils.
Oh, the fish are so cute.
I wonder how long before the rest of the world becomes part of this underwater museum too.
Okay, so he seems to know what this prophecy that they discussed at the beginning is, and I think all the siblings do, because the original narrator who's talking here
Only the Hydro Archon will
is Lynette, like the fire bro. Where's the man? This man. So they all seem to believe in this prophecy to an extent. I want to get to this next part now. This is where it gets very interesting, and I think this will be the longest part of the discussion.
Wait. Who am I?
We're gonna come back at the end to this because I want to connect it to what happens after a little bit. So we're gonna skip this for now.
The water is gradually swallowing our memories. It won't be long before it swallows us.
We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately?
So we start off with the robots dancing, with the whole new mechanic. So this one seems to be light-based, while the other one seems to be dark-based. Now, part of me, because I played too many video games at this point, wants me to believe that these two have kind of like a human soul inside of them, but we don't really have anything to back that up. But before this, if you remember real quick,
Who am I?
so in this specific part, it's interesting because they actually talk about afterwards of how the water is swallowing people's memories, right? So this person who seemingly looks like they transformed into a fish creature is probably a victim of the whole memory ordeal that's going down. The thing that I find more interesting though is that they're in the body of like some kind of a fish creature, which the more I think about it kind of makes sense with the whole prophecy. Because earlier on, they talk about how the entirety of Fontaine is gonna sink underwater, and theoretically, what would happen to all those people who are now going under? There's only two possibilities. One is they simply die or leave, which I guess there's three possibilities. But the last one is that they adapt to the new surrounding, if you will. Like, I could see that if Fontaine sinks, people might transform into aquatic life. Now, in this little shot, we see Aether kind of staring at the fish. And I think if there was someone who was immune to this effect, it would be Aether and Lumine because they're not from this world. Now, this whole theory is a bit of a stretch, I know, but it's really interesting to think about. But we're gonna keep it going. The dialogue here. We're gonna listen to the dialogue.
The water is gradually swallowing our memories.
So this whole thing with them on stage, it continues later on a bit. You can also see a lot of important characters in the crowd. Like we see Neuvillette, the judge here, and we see Aether and Paimon.
It won't be long
before it swallows us. Now, another little quick idea is that maybe sis Lynette over here actually lost some of her memories already, because she seems kind of just more done. She kind of reminds me of Chi-Chi in the sense that she's kind of dead inside and outside a little bit, because you can tell by her face. But maybe not as dead as Chi-Chi, but you get the idea.
We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates.
This is really interesting.
Consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately?
Okay, this is probably the most interesting part of the trailer, and that is that seemingly this machine is the one in charge of these hearings and sentences. Like, it decides what is right and wrong, and it's a machine, which I find is such a cool idea. Because the thing is, in Fontaine, Focalors is this super colorful character. Like, she has so much personality, and the fact that these trials are being held by a machine instead of a human soul is so weird to me. And okay, this too, it has a consciousness. So here's a bit of an idea that I had, is what if Focalors' other self resides in the Oratrice? What if the other personality, the one who actually bears the responsibility, is inside this machine, and hence why it is in charge of the trials? That is what would make the most sense to me, because otherwise, why would this entire nation let this random gizmo contraption dictate right and wrong? It doesn't make that much sense in that regard. But still, it's so interesting. And here we go.
Rain. It's raining.
Now, really quick in this scene, you see that the clock, I see this overlooked quite a bit, is not moving at all. Like, it seems like it's possible that maybe time came to a halt when the rain started. Like, look at this. It's not moving. And the way baby girl Taylor Swift here says it's raining seemingly implies that it never rains in Fontaine, which is so interesting because it's the nation of Hydro. I'm sure this connects directly to Focalors in some way, like some internal strife going on with her, but the fact that it started to rain again is more than likely why that prophecy was put into place. Like, the accumulation of rainwater over a certain amount of time, which ironically time seems to have stopped here, is that the water will seemingly endlessly increase. If the rain is moving and time isn't, it's only a matter of time before Fontaine gets flooded. So this seems to be the start of the conflict.
We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
Is this part of the show?
You gotta be kidding!
What happened?
Charges have now been...
Okay, we're gonna dissect this real quick. God, this trailer's so good. He talks about the prophecy again, leading to believe that all the siblings know about this. And if we connect this directly to the theory that the three siblings are from Arlecchino's orphanage, maybe that will tie in to her being the main antagonist of Fontaine, but we'll see. Interestingly enough here, he looks back at Lynette before it happens, before she disappears. So afterwards, when they say, is this part of the show? I actually believe that it is. He gives her that look, the cue, and then she disappears. The thing is, like Arlecchino said in the first trailer, you have to fool every single person for the magic to be convincing. Like how Arlecchino is, in my opinion, more than likely fooling all of the other Harbingers. I believe that Lene and Lynette are fooling the entire audience. And even right now, you see that she isn't even there. It's just her leftover clothing. So seemingly, she found a way to teleport out of there, and it's probably connected to magic. Okay, before we get into the baddest bitch of the region, more than likely in this scene right here, Neuvillette is probably gonna accuse us of this crime for some reason. It honestly might not even be him. It might be the Oratrice itself as well that has something to do with it, but we're more than likely gonna be framed because we just arrived in Fontaine and something like this happens as we're watching the performance. Also, he looks insanely attractive. Oh, yeah! Yeah! Dude, bro, she's so hot. Okay.
Be wise to tell everything you know and seek the protection of the guards.
Dear God, it's a whole army of Gardamex.
I believe this is indeed the finale.
God, she looks so good! I want her so badly, guys. She seems to have like the sword and gun thing, because here she's using a sword, but we also see her use a musket in the first trailer. But anyway, let's talk about this.
Therefore, you would be wise to
Okay.
tell everything you
Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know. So I think Neuvillette, he himself thinks that we're responsible, or he's putting on a show and knows who's actually responsible. Because he doesn't strike me as the type who would take the Oratrice's word into account for everything.
know and seek the protection of the guards.
He says and seek protection of the guards. I'm wondering if that's what the machines are, but the machines are attacking us, so I don't know what's going on. Also, Taylor Swift and her boys protecting us. I love that.
It's a whole army of Gardamex.
Gardamex. Okay, so that's what the name of the robots is. Also, this dude is so old and he's fighting. Respect. Why do I feel like his name is going to be Albert or something?
I believe this is indeed the finale.
God, she looks so good. Okay, the last line where Focalors is saying, I believe this is the finale, is just connecting again to her being a hedonist, but they really show her eye, like her other eye in detail here, which might be connected to the Oratrice. Because if you look at the symbol from earlier, it looks very close to what her eye is.
Your so-called justice, your beloved drama, while turning a blind eye to the suffering of the people.
In your eyes, the value of a human life is nothing compared to those cold laws you hold so dear.
Okay, before we get into the Giga Chat at the end. So this whole part here is clearly one of the citizens addressing, calling out Focalors for her poor running of the nation. But it just, again, kind of backs up the whole thing that I really don't think anyone is gonna be on Focalors' side. There's literally no reason to follow orders from her. Like, real quick, we're gonna make our predictions on all of the different sides. So I think Group A is gonna be Taylor Swift, the siblings, all three of them, and us. We're gonna be on the same team. The second group, I think, is gonna be Glorinde, which is the electro gunner and sword user, and Neuvillette. I think Glorinde specifically is gonna follow Neuvillette directly, but not the Hydro Archon. Because in the first trailer, we see them walking together, so they seem to have a good relationship. And Neuvillette, I do not think is gonna follow the Hydro Archon. I think he's gonna put on a bit of a mask, and he's gonna act like he's a direct subordinate for Focalors, but I think he's gonna have his own agenda. Probably related to Conria because of his eyes. I can imagine him not liking Focalors that much, to say the least. And like I said in the previous theory, I think eventually he's gonna put Focalors up for trial. And if we're following the French Revolution, they might actually kill her or one part of Focalors. I think one of herself is gonna die by the end of this plot. But yes, we're gonna continue now. That was a bit of a spiel.
In your eyes, the value of a human life is nothing compared
Yeah.
to those cold laws you hold so dear.
Also, this last part just proves Taylor Swift is going to be a Giga Chad amongst... Oh, look at the queen! Oh, sorry. They're both going to be queens.
So this is how justice is done in Fontaine. What a joke. You've got your rules. Well, I've got mine too!
Okay, I'm really wondering if Neuvillette knows who Tartaglia is, or maybe he just knows of the Fatui. But I'm still following the whole he is from Conria shtick. I just see too much potential and how good the narrative can go if he was from Conria. So let's just continue.
You've got your rules. Well, I've got mine too!
And that's it. So the last bit with Tartaglia, I have no idea what he's doing in Fontaine, but I'm really interested if he ends up having an interaction with Arlecchino. Ooh, nah, mommy and daddy. But it seems like he's gonna come to our rescue towards the end of this quest, which I'm really looking forward to. I love seeing Tartussy in different situations, and yeah, that was the discussion for the Fontaine trailer, guys. I know it wasn't much of a comedic video, but still hope you guys enjoyed. Take it easy and have a good one.